When it comes to sports in Lorain, your station to watch is TV 20, Lorain City Schools Television.
Welcome to 7th grade girls volleyball. Rob Polinsky, Joe Bach with you. It's General Johnnie Wilson hosting their crosstown rivals, Longfellow. General Johnnie Wilson in blue uniforms. Receiving the serve is Longfellow. They are in the black with the pink numerals. General Johnnie Wilson, a record of 5-5. Peggy Ham in her 13th season as a coach. And for Christine Brewster in her first year for Longfellow, they have an excellent record of 9-1. Glad you could join us for girls volleyball as General Johnnie Wilson takes a 2-0 lead off the first two serves today from Christina Feldy.
Right off the bat, Rob, I'm liking what I see. I'm seeing 7th graders overhand serve, so that's always good.
Exactly. So that's Christina Feldy doing those overhand serves that Joe just mentioned. And back there to receive as Victoria Venable. They'll send it over. It is just wide, so that makes it 3-0. Try to put it over. Victoria Venable. We'll get you the names as soon as we are able to get them to you. Daniela Ortiz is in the back row along with the server Christina Feldy. Feldy with another good serve. That's 4 in a row. And that goes off the top of the net. Played back to the Longfellow side. From the middle of the front row for Longfellow, that is Liera Concepcion. Sending it back over and digging it out is Alexis Lagarde. And that's going to be the first point for Longfellow. Joe is unable to dig that out. Was Kylie Krishenko in the front row for General Johnnie Wilson.
And nice volley there.
So Longfellow will get their first serve. They trail 3-1. And they only have numbers on the back of their jersey, so it'll take us a little more time to get these for you. As the General Johnnie Wilson with the traditional uniforms have the numbers on both the front and back. Makes it a little easier on me. And Feldy sends it back over to Longfellow. From the back row, unable to play it ahead. That point goes to General Johnnie Wilson. They lead 4-1 here early in game one. And in 7th and 8th grade girls volleyball, it's 2 games out of 3. You play to 25, you must win by 2 points. Kylie Krishenko serving. It is sent back by Victoria Venable from Longfellow, and that point goes to Longfellow.
Yeah, it looks like Longfellow's sporting, they have the pink on, and it does look
October
like the breast cancer
month. Yep.
Month, so yeah, so it looks very nice. And they have the pink bows in their hair, very cute.
Liera Concepcion set to serve. And she'll underhand it over. Longfellow sends it back, but that one's too deep, and it'll be a point for General Johnnie Wilson. They take an early 5-2 lead. Again, Peggy Ham, 13th year head coach for General Johnnie Wilson. She's talking with the line judge right now. She's in her 13th season. She gives instructions to her team. And they are 5-5. There's an ace. Miscommunication on that serve by Jaslyn Miller. Jaslyn Miller, excellent serve. Another overhand serve, Joe, and General Johnnie Wilson leads 6-2. That's 2 different 7th grade young ladies for General Johnnie Wilson already with the overhand serves.
Yeah, and they'll get it down, a little bit better. But it's good to see the overhand, because eventually, if they're going to move on, they're going to have to learn how to do that.
Justice McKinney comes into the lineup. She plays the left side of the front row for Longfellow as they make a substitution. 7-2, General Johnnie Wilson with the lead. Early on in game number 1. Once again, Miller sends it over from the back row. Longfellow plays it ahead. And sending it over for General Johnnie Wilson was Jordana Torres. Battle to net. Torres sends it over. Longfellow was able to put it back. And from the back row, they're going to send it to Concepcion. Played ahead, but going into the net. Yeah, into the net is Alexis Lagarde, and that gives the point to Longfellow. But that might have been the best volley of the young match.
Oh, absolutely. Very nice.
7-3, and now back to serve is Olivia Henderson. She will underhand serve. Her team trails 7-3. Longfellow with an excellent 9-1 record. From the middle of the back row, it's sent back to the General Johnnie Wilson side. General Johnnie Wilson in blue on the left side of your television. Longfellow in black with the pink numerals on the right side. Point to General Johnnie Wilson. They lead 8-3. Game 1, we're just underway. 7th grade girls volleyball on WLCS TV 20. Glad you could join us. And Alexis Lagarde to serve. Another overhand serve. Dug out nicely from the front row for Longfellow. Played into the net. That's going to be a point for General Johnny Wilson. And the young lady, boy, I tell you what, when you got numbers on the back and then ponytails, it's hard.
Good
But
luck,
I believe
Rob.
that was Keely Kreitzer, the captain, that couldn't quite get it over. Wasn't the right day that I forgot my glasses either, Joe.
Oh, no.
I went to get them out of the glove compartment, and I'm like, well, they're not there. I know where they are. They're on the nightstand. To the back row. That is just out. Boy, very, very close, and good eye in the back row from the General Johnny Wilson players. They lead 10-3.
I didn't bring a monitor for you either.
It's all right. Actually, I knew that it wasn't too panicked because I knew we weren't that far away.
Kind of a cozy setting here at the middle school.
Lagarde with the serve. That one just goes into the net, and it's a point for Longfellow. They get the serve back, but they trail 10-4. Substitution is Victoria Venable goes back to serve for Longfellow, and coming out of the lineup is Justice McKinney. Venable will overhand serve, a line drive, and that is an ace right on the line. Excellent serve.
That was great at any level.
Yeah, exactly. Point for Longfellow. It's 10-5. And Kylie Krashenko now will back up to that spot defensively. And Venable will go back to serve. Another deep serve, and that one's just in, I believe. Let's see who they give that. Yeah, that is Longfellow's point. So on both sides of the court, Joe, just in. Those are excellent serves by Victoria Venable. No chance.
Yeah, when in doubt, you got to play those.
Yeah. Easy for us to say up here. Those are not easy returns.
That's right.
Venable, another good strike. That one is played from the front row, and unable to put it over was Jordana Torres. But for the first time in 3 serves, at least General Johnny Wilson got a hand on it. But it's 10-7.
Yeah, 3 aces in a row here.
Yes. So Venable in this early match, the best server we've seen for either team. Steps into it, line drive, and it's just wide. That point will go to General Johnny Wilson. They lead 11-7. We're at General Johnny Wilson Middle School as they play the Longfellow Middle Schoolers, and there's other times we also will have the Southview Middle School. But today it's General Johnny Wilson and Longfellow. Kylie Kreitzer sends it back over from Longfellow, and then it fell between a couple of Longfellow 7th graders. One of those was Jalea Wright, unable to come up with it. It's 12-7 General Johnny Wilson. And going back to serve is Jordana Torres. These young ladies in a couple of years will go up and play for the freshman level. They'll be one team when they're the Lorain Titans.
They will.
Kreitzer sends it back over to Torres. And Krashenko, they send it over, but that one is wide. Krashenko passed it over to Lagarde. Lagarde got it over the net, but it was out of bounds, so point goes to Longfellow. But it's kind of fun, Joe, over the years now that we've been doing this, that Maria Roldan that time served it into the net, point for General Johnny Wilson. Over the years now, it's funny when I get to occasionally, do some varsity matches with you that I'll remember a name or two that maybe stuck out, or even when you have me do freshman or JV, it's always fun to think back, oh yeah, I remember that young lady from, General Johnny Wilson or Longfellow or, whatever school it might be. It's great when they are able to move on.
Yeah, at all levels, and all male and female. I just revisited a basketball game from 4th grade. Seth Wilson and Jordan Jackson played on the same 4th grade team, so it's kind of cool.
Should I guess they won?
Yeah, they did. Yeah.
Kreitzer.
Yeah, good guess.
yeah. Kreitzer will dig it out from the back row. I think we're going to say those names later on this winter.
Yeah, I think
Sent
so.
out of bounds. 14-9 against Seth Wilson, reunited with his Lorain buddies. And he will be on the floor this winter for John Rossitano's club. Christina Feldy to serve. She served by opening this match. Served 3 consecutive points before Longfellow got a point. And again, they get the point. They lead 15-9. Again, you play 2 games out of 3. And you play to 25. We're going to get our first time out. This is for Longfellow as they trail 15-9.
Yeah, they got down early and have not been able to close that gap since.
All right, Joe, we've got our 5th annual Buckeye Clam Bake and Tailgate. It's going to be on Saturday, October 26th, St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church. It's on Tower Boulevard in Lorain. The time has not been announced for that game yet, but it will be in a couple of weeks. Doors are going to open 90 minutes prior to the start of the game. I think it's safe to say that's probably going to be a night game. Wisconsin and Ohio State, listen to this, Joe. You get a dozen clams for $40, and on the clam bake menu, a dozen clams and mussels. You get the chicken breast and a quarter leg. You get a corn on the cob, red skin potatoes, rolling butter, clam chowder, coleslaw, cash bar, dessert. But does that sound good? And for information, call Andrea at 667-0062. If I wasn't working that day, I would be there.
And
I might call in sick just to go to that.
I went to that last year and they had a great time, except that the Buckeyes lost. And that probably cost them, that was the Wisconsin game.
Well,
that probably cost them a shot at the national championship.
It's funny, Joe, of course, the day we're taping this, it's still very early October, and the day we're doing this, Ohio State is 5-0. But when you look at it, this Wisconsin game, even though it's in Columbus, that might be the toughest game on Ohio State's schedule this season.
Huge, yeah.
16-10 as Longfellow gets the point. That underhand serve to the right of the front row. Kreitzer from the back sends it over, but out of bounds. Point for General Johnny Wilson. They lead 17-10. Underhand serve, that time by Krashenko. Kylie Krashenko gets the point. It's 18-10 General Johnny Wilson. So the team with a 5-5 record, it's early on, but they are handling the 9-1 team 18-10. You never know with these things.
That's right.
Sending it over was Feldy, and the point again goes to General Johnny Wilson. They lead 19-10.
And these, like all underclass games from the JV down, these are best of 3.
Right, 2 out of 3. Roy diving, unable to play that forward for Longfellow. Makes it 20-10 right side of the front row. Again, I apologize, not able to get to names to you like we normally would for Longfellow because they just have the numbers on the back of the jerseys, and unless the girls turn around, I can't see who they are. From the left side of the front row, Victoria Venable sends it back to the General Johnny Wilson side. Again, it's played by the right side of that front row. Venable will send it back over, and that's a point for Longfellow. They cut the lead to 20-11, but they've got a long way to go if they're going to come back. And I can tell you that the young lady serving now is Liara Concepcion, and that was the young lady that had a couple good plays in the front row on that last volley. So Concepcion goes back to serve. It is set, but setting it the wrong way was Jordana Torres. She sent it backwards, and I think she caught her teammates by surprise. So Longfellow cuts the lead to 20-12. Concepcion, there's an ace. Fell right between the front row and the back row.
Yeah, nobody moved.
And Coach Ham wants a timeout after that. She'll take her first timeout.
Yeah,
earlier,
closed it to 7.
Earlier Coach Brewster took a timeout when Longfellow trailed 15-9. And now you see Coach Ham and both teams huddling around their coaches. Joe, you are a prince for always bringing me a water. Sometimes when I'm running around before, I just forget about it. And I always know I'm in good hands when I look at the schedule, see your name, and when I'm with your partner in crime, I never know what's going to happen. But I know I probably won't get a water. But he keeps promising me. You know what I love about Bob is when I ask him about the water and tell him that you always provide water for me and what a nice thing that is. And he always looks at me and says, next time, Rob, next time. So that is it wide by General Johnny Wilson. It's out of bounds. Point for Longfellow. They trail 20-14. We're in game 1. 7th grade girls volleyball on WLCS TV 20.
Yeah, we appreciate you coming out here today, Rob.
Pleasure. Concepcion sends it over, and that is going to be a point as it fell between the 2 rows of Longfellow players. Roldan in the front row, Kreitzer in the back row.
That was a huge point. It could have cut the General Johnnie lead to 5, but
Agreed.
instead it's up to 7, and they only need 4 to go.
And serving is Jaslyn Miller. Miller, another overhand server. As Joe just told you, they're 4 points away. They're still 4 points away as it was out of bounds. So it's 21-15. See if Longfellow can get back some momentum here, Joe. Get him back into it, and it's Olivia Henderson serving for the second time in game 1. Henderson sends it over. Nice job in back row for Longfellow. That's a point. And that young lady, I think, is Jalea Wright. Yes, it is Jalea Wright. 21-16. That was a big play by Jalea Wright from the back row to get that point for Longfellow. They trail by 5. From the middle of the front row, Roldan sends it over, but wide out of bounds. That will be a point for General Johnnie Wilson. They're 3 points away from the first game. They lead at 22-16. Alexis Lagarde needs 3 points here for game 1 for her General Johnnie Wilson teammates. Another overhand serve, well done. Kreitzer from the left side of the front row sends it back to General Johnnie Wilson. Again, Kreitzer, this time she sent it wide and out of bounds. Point for General Johnnie Wilson. They're 2 points away from game 1. And that one is served short of the net. Point for Longfellow. They trail 23-17. Venable goes back to serve, and this is the last thing General Johnnie Wilson wanted, Joe. She serves it inbounds, and she is tough to return. Venable serve from the back row is played. That one might have been out of bounds, Joe. I'm not sure, but going back to play it was Jaslyn Miller.
Would have been close.
23-18. Longfellow within 5. Line drive into the net. Game point now for General Johnnie Wilson. That's the only thing when you do the overhand serves like that, Joe, especially at this young age, it's a much lower percentage than serving it underhand. Now, when you put it over, 9 times out of 10 you'll get the point, but it is a lower percentage.
But it's good that the coaches are stressing that at this level.
Yep, get better and keep working at it. Torres with the serve, and the point is going to be Longfellow's point as Feldy went into the net.
She was, under the net, actually.
Okay, so that gives the point to Longfellow. They stay in game 1 now, trailing 24-19.
All the pressure's on the server here. You have to give yourself a chance. You have to get the ball over.
That was Joe Bach with the jinx.
Yeah.
That was not Rob Polinsky. Oh, I'm teasing you, Joe. But game 1 goes to General Johnnie Wilson as served. You are absolutely right.
Yeah. Well, we'll see if they can. This is kind of a mild upset. If they can, General Johnnie can pull off game 2 or game 3, they'll win this thing. But Longfellow's got 2 more games to see if they can pull it out.
And after this timeout, we'll have game 2 for you. Again, you're watching 7th grade girls volleyball on WLCS TV 20, home of Lorain City Schools Television.
Can I go to the sleepover?
Lucy, I want you to promise me something. If there's any drinking, I want you to say, no thanks, not my thing.
Mom.
I promise you, your real friends won't care. Deal?
I promise, Mom.
They really do hear you.
Did you pack your toothbrush?
For tips on how to start the talk, visit underagedrinking.samhsa.gov. A public service message from the Substance Abuse and Mental Health Services Administration.
Opportunities present themselves every day. Opportunities that move us forward. Opportunities to serve part-time in your community while continuing their full-time careers or education to help keep our nation safe at home and around the globe. Explore your opportunities in the Air Force Reserve.
Game 2 underway as Longfellow will serve. They've switched sides. Longfellow in black on the left of your screen. And it is General Johnnie Wilson with the blue uniforms now who have switched sides to the right side of your screen as Feldy plays it ahead. The set by Krashenko. Feldy sends it over, and digging that out is Concepcion for Longfellow. She'll send it back to the General Johnnie Wilson side, and on the third hit, they're able to put it over.
Nice.
Long volley on his first point for game 2 as Longfellow at 9-1 finds themselves down 1-0, and General Johnny Wilson takes the 1-0 lead.
Yeah, nice volley to start this set 2
yeah, it was.
up.
And, General Johnny Wilson 5-5, Longfellow 9-1. In game 1, Joe, we had no lead changes, we had no ties. General Johnny Wilson took that 3-0 lead early. The closest that they were ever, that Longfellow ever got was within 2 points, 3-1 and 4-2. So let's see how the beginning of this game goes, and quickly General Johnny Wilson leads 2-0. Because after that was 4-2, Joe, it was a 6-1 run, made it 10-3, and they really were never pressed after that.
Right.
So for General Johnny Wilson, trying to get off to his second consecutive good start, unable to do so at that point. An illegal hit called on Daniela Ortiz, and that would give the ball and the point to Longfellow. They trail 2-1. Early, game 2. General Johnny Wilson leads 1-0. So if General Johnny Wilson wins this game, it's over. Should Longfellow bounce back and win this, tie it at a game apiece, we would have a third game. We're tied at 2, and Venable is serving. Victoria Venable, the 7th grader, for Longfellow.
Nice.
Yeah, good deep serve, and that's an ace, unable to play that ahead. And for Longfellow, that's their first lead today. They lead 3-2. And for Coach Brewster's team, their first lead here today. They did not lead one time in game 1.
Venable has very nice form on her serve
For
as
sure.
well.
You see her there as she steps back. She doesn't do a jump serve yet, but it's almost like everything but. And that's another good line drive serve. Concepcion to the back row, but she sends it too far, out of bounds. General Johnny Wilson lets it go out of bounds. We're tied at 3. It's a couple times today now that on some relatively close balls, the General Johnny Wilson girls have done a good job of letting it go out of bounds instead of playing it. Kreitzer tries to pass ahead, unable to do so. General Johnny Wilson leads 4-3. Second hit, and that one goes over the bench over the head of Coach Brewster. She wants to make a substitution. General Johnny Wilson leads 5-3. And she looks to her bench, points, and young lady gets up. She will replace Jasmine Cash, who comes out, and when she turns around, I'll get you her name. I think it's Olivia Henderson. In the middle of the front row, Concepcion sends it over. Again, back to Concepcion, and she'll get the point for Longfellow. And it's 5-4. It is Henderson, middle of the front row now for Longfellow. This to tie game 2, and it's a line drive ace. We are tied at 5. Feldy from the back row for General Johnny Wilson to Concepcion for Longfellow. Back and forth, and that cross-court hit will go out of bounds. Point for General Johnny Wilson. They lead 6-5. We await the server for General Johnny Wilson. Coach Ham is making the substitution. And coming in to serve, it's going to be Faith Spurlock. So Faith Spurlock to serve. Overhand serve. That one, Coach Brewster was the closest person to that. It's out of bounds. We're tied at 6. Concepcion to serve. Underhand serve. Tied at 6 for Longfellow. Feldy is sent over. Dug out beautifully. Nice job that time for Longfellow's Justice McKinney. And another great job by Henderson. There's a couple of really nice plays by the Longfellow young ladies to keep this volley alive. From the back row, it's sent back to General Johnny Wilson. And sent back over by Jordana Torres. As you see the back and forth, longest volley of either game so far by a lot. Cross-court hit is going to be out. Point will go to Longfellow. They regained the lead at 7-6. Concepcion to Feldy. In the back row, Feldy hits it off the ceiling, and that point will go to Longfellow. They lead 8-6. If you're wondering, the ceiling isn't out of bounds, but when it comes back onto your side, and you've already hit it 3 times, unable to hit it a 4th time, of course. The only time you get 4 hits, Joe, is when you're doing a block on a spike, which at this level you really don't see. Other than that, it's 3 hits. So Longfellow leads 9-6, and General Johnny Wilson wants a timeout. So while they take a timeout, we want to tell you that the sports medicine team at Cleveland Clinic Sports Health offers expert diagnosis and treatment for athletes of all abilities and ages. Call 877-440-TEAM or visit sportshealth.org. sports-health.org to learn more. Cleveland Clinic Sports Health, proud medical provider for Lorain High School student athletics. Appreciate their support.
Absolutely. Their trainer, Tracy Menges, up at the varsity level.
Oh, Tracy.
Yeah.
Her husband, the longtime trainer at Firelands High School.
Right.
Feldy from the left side of the front row sends it back over to the Longfellow side. They're unable to play it over, so that point goes to General Johnny Wilson. They cut the lead to 2 to 9-7. 7th grade girls volleyball today from General Johnny Wilson. Alongside Joe Bach, I'm Rob Polinsky. 1-game lead for General Johnny Wilson, 1-0. They trail in game 2, 9-7. That serve will be short of the mark. Longfellow leads 10-7.
Go Longfellow!
Olivia Henderson set to serve. Feldy. And unable to put that over was Captain Keely Kreitzer. It's 10-8, the point for General Johnny Wilson. Alexis Lagarde serving. And General Johnny Wilson, if you're just joining us, 5-5. And the Longfellow 7th graders outstanding at 9-1. That serve went out of bounds, and the point for Longfellow is 11-8. Getting some service errors this game.
Yes, we are.
Keely Kreitzer serving. Her team leads by 3. Takes her time, concentrates, puts it over. Feldy digs it out to the right side of the front row. It is Julia Wright. And the point will go for General Johnny Wilson. Sometimes you look down for a name, Joe. You find the name and you look up the points over and what happened? Serving Daniela Ortiz. Her team trails by 2. She wants to overhand serve it. Does so, and that's a point. Kreitzer couldn't play it. It's 11-10. That was another one that I think would have been very close.
I think that would have been out.
Okay. Kreitzer tried to play it. And now we're going to have a timeout for Longfellow. So Longfellow takes the timeout. And we want to remind you that about this Buckeye Clam Bacon tailgate. It's coming up on the final Saturday in October, which is October 26th. It's going to be over at the North St. Nicholas Greek Orthodox Church. It's on Tower Boulevard in Lorain. Times to be announced because they don't know what time the kickoff is yet, but the doors are going to open 90 minutes prior to the start of that game. Wisconsin, Ohio State. It's a dozen clams. It's $40. The clam bake menu. A dozen clams, PEI mussels, Prince Edward Island. Are you impressed? I knew that one, Joe.
Yeah,
I know my
that?
mussels.
Wow.
Grilled a lemon herb chicken breast and a quarter. Yeah, right. And a quarter leg. You get corn on the cob, red skin potatoes, roll and butter, clam chowder, coleslaw, cash bar, and dessert. Call Andrea 440-667-0062 or Maria 440-308-6768.
Fun time.
I bet. And you said allegedly that you went last year.
I did. Oh, it was a great.
Who bought your ticket?
Except that the Buckeyes.
I've never seen you cough up $40 for dinner.
Oh, come on.
Brian Corey bought that for you?
No.
Okay.
I don't think he was there.
Probably not. You didn't buy it for him. That one goes out of bounds on the serve. It's 12-10. But yeah, it sounds like a real nice time and fundraiser. And you know what? Don't worry, Joe. We'll soften up Wisconsin for you this weekend.
Oh, yeah.
Like my Golden Flashes go up there for football on Saturday. We'll just soften them right up for the Buckeyes.
Great. Counting on you, Rob.
Yeah, right. You got nothing to do with it. Feldy sends it over on the third hit. Again, she plays it from the middle of the front row. Krashenko sets it up. They send it back. And they're going to say that's in. You're right, Joe.
Yep.
And Longfellow now leads 12-11. It is General Johnnie Wilson within a point.
Of course, Rob Polinsky, the color commentator for the Kent State Golden Flashes.
And I don't get hit up in the booth, but man, everybody's saying this Wisconsin.
How was your Auburn trip?
It was great. It was one of my favorite places to ever be at.
And actually, I see if I still have it. I screenshot the score at the bottom where it said Kent State 3, Auburn nothing, and I'm like, wow.
Yeah, the first drive of the game, they went downfield, kicked the field goal, took about half the time off the clock, and then halfway through the second quarter, they were still only losing 14-10, but bigger, stronger, faster prevailed. There's no doubt in that. So for General Johnnie Wilson from the back row, playing ahead is Jordana Torres, sends it over to the Longfellow side. Feldy gets it to Krashenko, right back to Feldy. And it's sent over to General Johnnie Wilson, and that's going to be a point for Longfellow. And Venable got it over, and her team leads 14-11. We're about halfway through game 2. It's 1-0 General Johnnie Wilson out in front here in 7th grade girls volleyball.
Yeah, if you see Jaden Morales down there, tell him I said hi.
I will do that.
Although he's stopped in a couple times to visit.
How's he doing?
He's doing really well, he says.
Good.
So, good for him.
Now, do you get to see the grades?
No.
Okay. I'm just asking.
Sure, if I asked, he probably would.
Okay.
He made a schedule. I love his schedule. It's Monday through Thursday. So he has Fridays off.
General Johnnie Wilson down 2 points. Will get the serve. And coming in to serve is Milena Garcia.
Looks like some of the fans giving some grief to the line judges who are volunteers.
Just shocking.
I know.
And that is a point for Longfellow as they lead 15-12. Going back now to serve for Longfellow is Justice McKinney. McKinney serve from the middle of the front row. And from the back, sending it, but unable to get it over is Krashenko. Another point for Longfellow as they start to slowly pull away by a little bit. They lead 16-12. Justice McKinney. And it will get hit into the net. It's a 5-point lead. Faith Spurlock put it into the net.
I think that's their biggest lead, isn't it? It
is. They lead now by 5, 17-12. McKinney again, underhand serve is good. Unable to play it from the right side of the front row was Jaslyn Miller. It's 18-12.
Hey, McKinney, it's an underhand serve, but she has their number on this.
Yes.
Come on, Longfellow.
That one just off the top of the net, can't get it over.
I'm going to start talking, Rob.
So Longfellow leads 18-13. I didn't say anything.
You're kind.
Let's see. Jaslyn Miller to serve. Her team trails by 5.
Yeah, not a word.
We got nothing to do with it, Joe. You know that. You've been doing this long enough. Keely Kreitzer. And that serve.
Good job, Ralph.
She crossed the line?
Yeah.
Yes.
So it's going to be a point for Longfellow. They lead 19-13. And we're going to have a pause here as they want to talk to the referee, so he'll have to climb down and talk with the scorers table.
Hey, TV20's YouTube channel's well on its way. We hit 1.4 million not that long ago, and I'd predict within a month we'll be at 1.5 million. So So for a school channel, we're doing really well. If you haven't checked it out, go to YouTube and you search TV20, and we come up as one of the top, actually the top search. A lot of programs on there, and we have some classics. Got a lot of variety.
Again, that's the YouTube station for TV20, one of several ways you can watch it. If you live in Lorain, you know by now that you can see it on Spectrum Cable.
Yep, channel 1025. A lot of people had trouble finding it because Spectrum did a global, that's the entire country, all the Spectrum. They moved all their local access channels to 1025, which, you know, is kind of, it's way up there. So before, when we were down at channel 20, a lot of people would easily find us. Now we're like way at the top. So, or I don't want to call it the top, but it's it's buried. So, but we're still there, channel 1025.
You mean there's not just 3, 5, and 8 anymore? Now you're on channel 1025. Wow.
Yeah, 1025.
The times they are a-changing, but you can find it lots of different ways. And
our Facebook page, and you can follow us on Twitter as well.
Jordana Torres to serve. And now they've changed the score. It's 18-14. So, anyway, they give that point back to General Johnnie Wilson. They serve it. Out of bounds, it's 19-14 Longfellow. So there was a change at the scorers table with the points. And now Longfellow serves, leading 19-14. Serve is wide, out of bounds, 19-15. General Johnnie Wilson down 4, and going back to service, Jordana Torres. Substitutions for Longfellow. They make a couple of subs. And we'll get you those names as soon as we can. Serving is Torres for General Johnnie Wilson. And now we're having another conversation at the scorer's table.
And we're coming down again.
What do you think, Joe? Timeout?
Sure.
Let's take a timeout. We'll be back with game 2 once they get this figured out. Right after this timeout, you're watching 7th grade girls volleyball on WLCS TV 20, home of Lorain City Schools Television.
Inspiring city and campus. Inspiring people. Inspiring creativity. Inspiring hands-on learning. Inspiring global experiences. Inspiring traditions. Be a Buckeye. Inspire.
And they get whatever the issue was at the scores table resolved. We're set to get back to action here. Now Coach Ham is getting her girls over to talk quickly. So I thought we were ready to serve, but I think now we're ready to get back settled in.
All righty.
And it will be serving Jordana Torres. Her team trails 19-15 in game 2, but General Johnnie Wilson, who's serving, leads 1-0. Torres, after the lengthy delay with the serve, dug out. Feldy with a nice job of sending that over. Longfellow plays it from the back row. Again from the back row, they do off the top of the net and out of bounds. Point for General Johnnie Wilson. They trail 19-16. And serving will be Jordana Torres. Torres hits it short, shy of the net, so point goes to Longfellow. They lead 20-16. Five points away from tying this in a game apiece. In the back row, it's sent over but out. So that's a point for General Johnnie Wilson. They trail 20-17. They're inching back in this, Joe.
They are.
And now going back to serve is Daniela Ortiz. She unable to get it over the net, so point for Longfellow is 21-17. And the serving is Jalea Wright.
Venable puts it into the net. Point for General Johnny Wilson. They trail 21-18.
Kind of trading points here.
Yep. Which, if you're Longfellow, they're fine with that because they're the one that's 4 points away from the match or from the game. And it is Christina Feldy serving for General Johnny Wilson, 7th graders. Young lady very tall for being in the 7th grade. It's sent out of bounds. Feldy and General Johnny Wilson with the point. Joe, it's 21-19 Longfellow. Feldy serve. In the middle of the front row, Venable sends it over, but out, and it's a 1-point game. Longfellow leads 21-20. Remember, it goes to 25. You must win by 2. Longfellow wins. We're tied at a game apiece. If General Johnny Wilson wins this game, then they get the match 2-0. Feldy serve to the back row. Dug out by Jalea Wright. Now sent over from Longfellow back to Feldy of General Johnny Wilson. She puts it into the net on the 3rd hit. Longfellow with a point, leading 22-20.
That's huge.
(22-20). And from the left side of the front row, Kylie Krishenko, they get the point. It's 23-20, so 2 points away from the game.
Here, I don't want to jinx her, but Longfellow's got the exact person they want back there to serve this out.
That is Venable. She serves it, and Feldy can't play it. We're at game point, 24-20.
One more.
So 24-20.
Let's do it. One more.
Venable serve. Feldy from the back row. It's played. Feldy goes back, can't get it, and Longfellow ties it at a game apiece.
Wow.
So we're going to take a timeout. We'll be back with game 3. We're tied at 1 apiece. General Johnny Wilson and Longfellow, 7th grade girls volleyball. We've got more coming up right after this timeout.
Stop. Whether it's on the way to school, at school, or online, bullying has become a non-stop threat to our youth today. Is your child being bullied? The National Runaway Switchboard can help. If you're having a hard time, get online or call to chat now.
We make Marines who overpower the desire to quit with the perseverance to prevail. Not for glory, but for honor. For a code that isn't written or spoken, but lived. It's what we do. It's who we are. It's the battle cry of our fighting spirit. Battles won. See all the battles Marines fight to win at marines.com.
Game 3 underway with Longfellow and General Johnny Wilson. We're tied at a game apiece. Game 2 went to Longfellow in a really good game. They won it 25-20. So now we know whoever wins this 3rd game will be the winner of this match. General Johnny Wilson takes the 1-0 lead. So for the 3rd consecutive game, General Johnny Wilson gets the early lead. And going back to service, Christina Feldy. So once again, we'll play this to 25. You must win by 2 points. But now there's no doubt. We're at the 3rd and final game of this match, tied at a game apiece. Feldy from the back row will play it ahead. Krishenko with the set. Feldy will send it over from the back row. Kreitzer for Longfellow, but she puts it into the net, and that will be a point for General Johnny Wilson, a 2-0 lead. Joe, in game 1, General Johnny Wilson led 3-0. In game 2, 2-0, and here in game 3, it's still early, but they lead 2-0. So for 3 straight games, they have gotten the early lead. Feldy puts it into the net, and it's 2-1. Longfellow now will serve with a chance to tie.
You seeing the pattern there, Rob?
Yeah, and it's Venable, who's the best server for Longfellow, back to serve. And Coach Brewster hoping that Venable can give her team an early lead here. In the middle of the front row, Krishenko, they send it back over, and that was well done.
Yeah.
As Krishenko set that up for Alexis Lagarde. She gets the spike, and it's 3-1. Serving Kylie Krishenko. And Joe, it looked like you knew members of the fan club earlier.
Yeah, our automotive technician and welding instructor, Mr. Scott Krishenko, that's his niece.
So from the right side of the left side of the front row, hitting it over and getting the point because it was just in. Lamaria Roldan, and it's 4-1. That was right on the line. Longfellow Younger, or I'm sorry, that was a point for Longfellow, so it's 3-2. My mistake. The two teams have switched sides once again. General Johnny Wilson in blue on the left side of your television, and on the right side in black with the pink letters and numerals for Breast Cancer Awareness Month is Longfellow serving. And that one will just go over the net. Dug out nicely by Jaslyn Miller. Point to General Johnny Wilson. They lead 4-2. And it will be Jaslyn Miller serving. Miller hits it into the net. Point for General Johnny Wilson, or for Longfellow, they trail 4-3. In the third and deciding game, 7th grade girls volleyball today on WLCS TV 20. Bob Polinsky, Joe Bach, glad he could join us. And playing ahead but going out of bounds. That point goes to Longfellow.
No, she went under the net.
Yep. So it wouldn't have mattered.
Right.
We're tied at 4. From the middle of the back row, the General Johnny Wilson 7th graders play it, and unable to get it over the net was Lagarde. She tried to place that perfectly, not easy to do. And General Longfellow leads for the first time in this third and deciding game, 5-4. They have scored 3 consecutive points. And that serve goes into the net. We're tied at 5.
Yeah, we have 9-1 facing a 5-5, but when Lorain teams meet, you can just throw out the records,
right,
because you never know what's going to happen here.
General Johnny Wilson is the 5-5 team, and Longfellow, who will be receiving the serve, is 9-1. And that serve does not get to the net. As you're in the third game, there's always pressure when you're serving, but when you're in the third game and it's one apiece and 6-5, there's even more pressure than normal. And we're seeing it as each team really struggling with their services right now. 6-6.
Set one, the serves were amazing. It was, seems like, I don't know if the girls are tiring a little bit or feeling the pressure, like you said.
Jordana Torres, let's see what she can do. She goes back to serve for General Johnny Wilson as we're tied at 6. She does the overhand approach, and that one is a good serve. From the middle of the front row, it's played. Feldy right back to the Longfellow side. Middle of the front row for Longfellow. They're going to get the point, and that was a good job on a couple of consecutive hits by Jalea Wright on the middle of that front row for Longfellow. And they lead 7-6. And it will be Captain Keely Kreitzer serving. And the set went in between a couple of General Johnny Wilson players. Point for Longfellow, their biggest lead of game 3, now 8-6. Kreitzer sends it ahead. That's an ace. 9-6.
Keep it going, girls. Keep it going.
Kreitzer, middle of the front row. General Johnny Wilson sends it back over, and that's going to be a point. Nicely done, Daniela Ortiz. Put the ball right where there wasn't a defender for Longfellow, makes it 9-7. She'll go back to serve. Her team trails by 2. You know, in the third and deciding game, each team trying to keep this close. They don't want to give one team a big advantage and a big hole to try to climb out of. Ortiz with a good deep serve to Kreitzer. Plays it ahead and over, and it's a point. Kreitzer with an excellent return of that deep serve, Joe, and Longfellow leads 10-7.
Had good sound, too.
From the back row, General Johnny Wilson plays it ahead, but hitting it a little too far was Lagarde, and the setter Krashenko couldn't get there in time. Point for Longfellow as they pull ahead just ever so slightly. It's 11-7. Feldy to Krashenko, back for Feldy, unable to do it. And now Longfellow leads 12-7, and you're kind of getting the feeling that maybe, just maybe, they're ready to pull away a little bit here, Joe.
Yeah.
And I think Coach Ham knows it, and she needs to talk to her girls, so she takes the time out. The General Johnnie Wilson 7th grade coach in her 13th year. Got a chance to chat with her for a couple minutes before the game about her team.
Yeah, she's been around Lorain for a long time.
Want to let you know that if you've been injured during the big game, don't wait for treatment. Cleveland Clinic Sports Health offers Saturday sport injury clinics and extended hours for athletes at our Sports Health Center over in Garfield Heights. Call 216-518-3475 or visit sportshealth.org. sports-health.org/injury clinic to learn more. Cleveland Clinic Sports Health, keeping athletes in the game and supporting Lorain athletics. We're back to action as General Johnnie Wilson has Christina Feldy sending it over. Played by the young lady from Longfellow, put it into the net, and that was Liera Concepcion, and it's 12-8. So
it's a big point for General Johnnie.
And they need to get a few more, I think, here, Joe, with Feldy serving to try to get some momentum back. They trail by 4, 12-8, and hitting it out of bounds. Now it's 13-8 with the Longfellow 7th graders out in front. General Johnnie Wilson took the 1-0 lead, but Longfellow trying to battle back. Tied it in game 2 by winning 25-20, and now leading 13-8. And the serve will be sent. It's a nice job sending that back. Alexis Lagarde makes it 13-9.
Yeah, they didn't play that, and unfortunately for Longfellow, it was in.
So Krashenko back to serve. Her team trails by 4. And Roldan sends it over, but wide out of bounds. General Johnnie Wilson within 3 at 13-10. It's been close throughout.
Oh, it has.
Game 1 went to General Johnnie
match.
Wilson. Yep, 25-19. Game 2 to Longfellow, 25-20. And in the third game, it's 13-10. Third hit, nice job getting it over the net was Jordana Torres. Roldan tries to dig it out from the net, can't do so. Point for General Johnnie Wilson, and the home team is within 2. Krashenko. Another good line drive serve. Roldan on the second hit. Gets it over the net, and that's going to be a point for Longfellow. Longfellow leads 14-11. Serve played ahead, cross court. Dug out. And on the third hit, unable to get it over the net for General Johnnie Wilson was Alexis Lagarde. It's 15-11, Longfellow. And General Johnnie Wilson from the back row sends it over. And that time it was Daniela Ortiz, but it was hit long out of bounds. Point for General Johnnie Wilson. They trail 15-12. And serving. Let's see who this will be. We got a substitution, and there you're going to bring in Faith Spurlock to serve coming off the bench. She will replace Jaslyn Miller.
You can do it.
Serve goes into the net. 16-12 Longfellow. Liera Concepcion serving.
Good job, Lyra.
And Kreitzer puts it into the net. Point for General Johnnie Wilson. They trail 16-13.
Trading points here.
Yeah, they are. Now serving it will be Alexis Lagarde, although I think we're going to get substitutions for both teams. Coming out for Longfellow is McKinney. Justice McKinney comes out, going back to the back row. Can't see her number, so we'll have to wait till she turns around, Joe. Again, they just have the numbers on the back. I believe that's Savannah Bryant. And now coming in the serve for General Johnnie Wilson, it will be Brianna Johnson. So Brianna Johnson to serve, her team down by 3. Brianna Johnson just off the top of the net. She gets the point. Joe, talk about a game of inches. Just got it over. Good thing she had her Wheaties this morning or it wouldn't have gone over. 16-14. General Johnny Wilson within 2. Kreitzer sends it over, and that's going to be a point for Longfellow. Nice placement on that return by Captain Keely Kreitzer. Gives her team a 17-14 lead. These two teams just can't get any separation in any of these games, Joe.
Well, Longfellow at this point would be content in trading points.
That's true. And the serve goes out of bounds. Hitting that out of bounds was Roldan. And it's 17-15.
Unforced errors have to drive a coach crazy.
And going back to serve is Jordana Torres. Torres serves. Kreitzer to Faith Spurlock, and that point goes to Longfellow. Spurlock couldn't pass it ahead. It's 18-15 Longfellow. Kreitzer back to serve.
Come on, Longfellow. Let's keep that lead.
Feldy. Grashenko back to Feldy. She'll send it back to the Longfellow 7th graders. Nice job from the back row. Venable sends it over to the General Johnny Wilson side. Another good volley here this time. From the back row, they send it over, but out of bounds on the cross-court hit. And it's 18-16. General Johnny Wilson needed that point, Joe, and they got it.
Oh, they did.
And they're within 2.
I was just about to say, we haven't had a good volley in a while, and boy, they sure did right there.
Serving is Daniela Ortiz. Her team trails by 2. Line drive serve, and that's going to be a point. It's a 1-point game. From the back row, Jasmine Cash tried, but she couldn't get it in play. And now General Johnny Wilson with an opportunity to tie as Cash will come out. And it's Ortiz serving to try to tie this. Line drive serve, it's an ace just over the head of Savannah Bryant. We are tied at 18 in the 3rd and deciding game, and we've got more substitutions. Bryant will come out for Longfellow, and coming into the front row.
Right down to the wire. I know, Rob, you wouldn't have it any other way.
Right, it's Justice McKinney. So we're tied at 18. Line drive serve, and that's going to be, boy, off the young lady Concepcion. And that's going to, she'll have an injury timeout here, Joe, as General Johnny Wilson leads 19-18. And I think we might want to take a timeout here.
Oh, yeah, we can do that.
All right, we'll take a timeout as it's 19-18. Yeah, she says she's all right. I guess. So I think they're going to get right back to play here, Joe. So I think we're ready. She says she's all right. Her teammates come over to check her out. I was worried about the glasses. She came up to get that and hit her there. So waiting now to serve will be Daniela Ortiz as we wait for our referee to get back up there, and he does. Nice job by the referee today. Daniela Ortiz to serve. Concepcion tells her that she's okay, and we're set to get back underway. Ortiz with the serve, cross court, that is out of bounds. We're tied at 19. And for Longfellow, going back to serve, Jalea Wright.
It's a good eye to stay away from that one. That was really close.
Every serve now critical just to put it in play when you're tied at 19 of a deciding game. Spurlock to Grashenko, back for Spurlock. She can't put it over the net. 20-19 Longfellow.
Okay, Longfellow, 5 more. You can do it.
McKinney to serve. Feldy.
And sends it over, and that one's going to be inbounds. It's a point for Longfellow, 21-19. And Johnnie Wilson let it bounce, and that time it landed in. (21-19). Serve. Spurlock to Krashenko. Krashenko sends it over to the Longfellow side. Spurlock plays it to Krashenko. She again hits it all the way back over to Longfellow. From the back row, that one they're not going to be able to play. And Longfellow on a 4-0 run now has cut a 1-point deficit and turned that into a 3-point lead. 22-19, they're 3 points away from the match. Krashenko sends it back to the Longfellow side, and they're going to get the point. So good job by Krashenko getting that point for her team. It's 22-20, and serving to try to get back into it is Christina Feldy. Feldy's line drive serve into the net. Longfellow 2 points away from the match.
But whatever the outcome, Rob, it's been a whale of a match.
It has. No doubt about it. General Johnnie Wilson took that 1-0 lead. Longfellow trying to come all the way back to win games 2 and 3. Venable with the cross-court serve, or I should say with the serve, and that went out of bounds cross-court. So that's the young lady they wanted serving, but she couldn't put it in play. So General Johnnie Wilson trails by 2, 23-21. Krashenko serves. And from the back row, it's sent over. Spurlock hits it, but just out of bounds. It is match point. Match point. I thought that was Longfellow's point. It is. And it's match point. They lead 24-21. Justice McKinney serving for the match. Sends it over. Dug out, sent back. McKinney plays it ahead to Kreitzer from the back row. Spurlock will send it back over to the Longfellow side. Match point. From the back row, they play it into the net, and that match will go to Longfellow. They win it 25-21. Our 3 games today. Game 1, it was General Johnnie Wilson winning 25-19, but Longfellow bounces back, and they wins game 2 and 3, 25-20 and 25-21. Joe, 3 games, and the furthest deficit with 6 points. Yeah, it tells you how evenly matched these 2 opponents were today.
Yeah, even though the records coming in were General Johnnie at 5-5 and Longfellow at 9-1, you'd think that the records would have been closer than that. But like I said before, when 2 Lorain teams meet up, you just throw out the records. It was a great day for the ladies, and I'm glad we can give them some exposure here on TV 20.
So it is Longfellow winning the 7th grade game in 3 games. You see both teams shaking hands, and that's going to do it for 7th grade girls volleyball.
If you're watching on Spectrum, upcoming will be 8th grade. If you're watching on YouTube, you have to go back, reload, and go watch the 8th grade game.
Speaking of going back and reloading, I think that's what I need to do in between games.
Sounds good.
So we'll be back after this. Again, in the 7th grade game, it was Longfellow over General Johnnie Wilson in 3 games. You've been watching 7th grade girls volleyball on WLCS TV 20, home of Lorain City Schools Television.
This has been a production of Lorain City Schools TV 20 WLCS.